Welcome to everyone. This now is our sixth Soul Street block party. And if this is your first time, an especially warm welcome to you. If it's not your first time, in fact, even a more warm welcome. These calls are a ritual that we've been building over the last half year as a community and as a team, where we essentially sit down and give you some progress updates on what's happened in the world of SolStreet over the last month, and then also what's coming up for the next month, what to look forward to. So this month kind of takes care of itself in both of those brackets, what's happened and what's coming. But there's also plenty going on outside of Wolfies. Of course, that'll be one of the main things for today. And as a special treat on the Wolfies note, we're going to be meeting Ashley, who's our Wolfies artist today, which for many of you, it'll be the first time meeting her. So you can look forward to that. She's a really special person and a pretty special artist as well. We, of course, going to be talking about Wolfies and making buzz around them. We're going to be answering your questions on that front. And then covering some of the more kind of month-to-month updates. We've been launching an NFT collection, but let's not forget, we're running a DeFi protocol here as well. So lots of good tech progress and otherwise to bring you guys up to speed on. So without further rambling or ado, let me hand over to Hein to give us a bit of an overview and an intro for what's been going on.
Thanks. So before the team gets into what we've been doing and what we plan on doing next, I thought with so many new community members having joined, it's a good idea to just chat about why are we all here? Why this? Why Soul Street? And I like the framing of the question that we've gotten now from time to time, which is, why is a DeFi protocol going into NFTs? And one way to answer this would be to say that we had the Wolfie meme going since the Wolf of Wall Street competition a year ago. And another way to answer would be to say that lots of other DeFi protocols are doing this to great success. But here, I would give a big howl out to our fellow wolves at Bonfida. But the discerning listener might respond to say that doesn't really answer the question, why do DeFi protocols in general get into NFTs? And the answer that I'll give in a moment, I think, is similar to an answer that I would give to the question, why would an army divert its attention away from physical training to spend time on uniforms and making beds neatly? Or why a basketball team would divert its attention away from the pitch to spend time on developing brands and mascots. I think these things are ultimately about building alignment around a culture and a community, and in our case, a wolf pack. The initial team, which has been building Soul Street for the last year, holds certain principles on which there is just no compromise. These are principles like custody bad, non-custody good, or opaqueness bad, transparency good. You might say, why is this guy preaching values? I thought this is a DeFi protocol and I'm just here to flip some JPEGs. But the reason is that it is our values that get us out of bed to build the tech. Because of that, the tech reflects our beliefs. So for example, we believe that asset management should be non-custodial. And so we've created a technology to make asset management non-custodial. On the flip side, we're deeply suspicious of asset managers who choose to avoid this technology and who choose instead the antiquated method of putting investors at risk by taking custody of their funds. Why should we trust someone like that? And that question is informed by our values. And for the same reason, we believe that asset managers' track records should be transparent and immutable. And so we've created technology to make those track records transparent and immutable by default. On the flip side, we're deeply suspicious of asset managers who choose to avoid this technology and who choose instead the antiquated method of making their track records subject to obfuscation and misrepresentation. What have they got to hide? I could go on about tons about the utility that attaches to Wolfies. For instance, I can go on about the fact that each Wolfie can hunt for 360 street tokens. And I could go on about how 50% of all street tokens are set aside for performance mining, and how the only way to share in that is to hold a Wolfie. But in reality, the most important aspect of Wolfies is that at their core, Wolfies are about building a community around these core principles. If I see an asset manager with a Wolfie PFP running a pool on SolStreet, I don't have to have a philosophical debate with him to find out whether this might be someone interested in stealing my funds, faking good trades, or hiding bad trades. Someone with a Wolfie PFP running a pool on SolStreet is someone who has necessarily embraced these principles and someone who's given up any chance of breaking those values. I don't have to interview hundreds of investors to find out whether they believe it's important to embrace the technological solution to several hundred years of stolen funds and falsified track records. When I see a user with a Wolfie PFP committing assets to a pool on SolStreet, I know for a fact that they embrace the same principles. So what I want is for someone to see a Wolfie and think, this guy is a not your keys, not your crypto fundamentalist. And really, values are at the core to effective organization, whether it's a team, a company, or a protocol. I don't have to check in every 10 minutes to see if my team are still building a protocol that is non-custodial and transparent. Because my team is glued together by these principles, I know that they won't be doing anything else. But values need to spread to matter. It's no good for 10 people to build a technology to fix a problem and then keep it to themselves. This doesn't make the world a better place. There's also the responsibility to spread the value and to build a community around it. So I'm super proud about everything the initial team have been doing over the last year to make this protocol great. And the proof is in the pudding. I ask you, what other asset management protocol is non-custodial, is fully transparent, enables pool managers to hold dozens of assets in the same fund, enables pool managers to have both long and short positions in the same pool, has 95,000 Twitter followers, has 15,000 Discord members, has a town hall with its community every month, has 2 newsletters a week, and is backed by investors like Coinbase. Who else? A great product is not enough to make a great blockchain protocol. You see, Coca-Cola can get away with only having a great product and an A-grade team, but Bitcoin could not. Neither could SolStreet. In the decentralized space, product is worthless without a community of involved believers. Unless the community gets involved, you cannot decentralize. And we know it's hard for you to contribute code unless SolStreet is open source. And we will fix this soon. We also know it's hard for you to participate in governance when there is no governance portal, and we will also be fixing this soon. But those are not the only or even the most valuable ways that you can contribute. The most valuable way anyone can contribute is to grow this community and to evangelize its core values. Get out there with your Wolfie and tell people why you are involved with SolStreet specifically. Why are you spending your time on this protocol, and why is it different? When someone gets fleeced by an asset manager who stole their funds or lied about their track record, I want to see someone with a Wolfie PFP get on a forum and explain why SolStreet is built to fix this. If marketing is not your scene, set an example by taking your Wolfie and starting or supporting a non-custodial and transparent pool on SolStreet. If that's not your style either, let your Wolfie be your avatar when you strike up some debates on Discord and Reddit. Let's get some discussion going of massive custodial funds that were not on SolStreet, but which stole their investors' funds or broke fund mandates or lied about their track records. If the debate isn't spicy, do our values even matter? And if debating markets bore you and all that blockchain and economic stuff is above your pay grade, do your part to make the community members feel like a part of the pack and what the glue is that holds the pack together. I want to see Wolfies post Fs, GMs, GNs, and memes. And I want to see Wolfies hit likes and retweets and spread the good vibes. We all have different talents. We all have a different part to play in this ecosystem, and we need all of us to do this. So there are lots of other core values I didn't talk to, but that are important. One example would be we really value the democratization of saving, which is why there's virtually no amount too small to start or support a pool on SolStreet. But we can discuss these another time, and what I really want is for the pack to inform what these values are. So, why do Wolfies howl at the moon? Because that's where we want to go. Back to you, Jeff.
That's a bit of a tough act to follow. I was thinking to myself earlier, in the shower, in fact, so classic shower thoughts, that wouldn't it be nice if we had a Wolfies manifesto? And I think if we can just transcribe that portion of your speech there, Hein, that we might have checked that box with a big heavy green check mark. So that was awesome. I'll have a cheers to your shower thoughts then. I thought you were gonna say cheers to me thinking of you in the shower, but that would have been a misconstruing of what I'd said. So yeah, thanks for that, Hein. I think even as someone who's working on SolStreet day in and day out, you can, as much as all of those values are so kind of at the core of what we do on the day-to-day, to hear them articulated from time to time and put so poetically is incredibly powerful. So let's move along off that foundation and build up some detail and some excitement here around Wolfies, because that'll be the main focus of what I speak to. Keep in mind that everything here, as I said, is kind of being layered onto the scaffolding that Hein has just set up for us. It's super important to be someone who's truly part of the pack, to hold those things at heart. And without a doubt, we're going to have speculators and the NFT degens. And if that's you, this isn't to say you're not welcome, because you absolutely are. And I believe that there's a space for any level of degeneracy within the pack, because those values are that Hein spoke to are not things that are exclusive to any one type of person or any one sort of identity. We all know the gist of them. We all know that they're an NFT that is packed with utility, which is the most useful to a SolStreet user and to someone who plans on making SolStreet part of their future. And of course, you can do that as a pool manager who's running cross-protocol, market neutral arbitrage strategies. But you can also do that as someone who simply wants to be able to invest a little bit of money into crypto and allocate a portion of that to a non-custodial fund manager who has demonstrated that they have a track record that's kind of worth investing in. And so that's essentially everyone. Everyone who wants any part in the future of crypto fits one of those two boxes, or both of them, and somewhere in between. And so that's why Wolfie utility, despite it being kind of contained to the SolStreet ecosystem, is really relevant far beyond the parameters of our little community and our website with its protocol running on it. So let me refresh your memories as to the key bits of Wolfie utility. As Hein alluded to, first of all, every single Wolfie of the 5555 will be entitled to be sent out on a token hunt. That means that there are 360 street tokens available for your Wolfie to bring back to your wallet over the course of a year of holding it. So that's 2 million tokens spread across the pack. And those are tokens that give you even more of an interest and a stake in SolStreet's future. We wrote a thread on Twitter about how to understand and think about the value of these tokens. And it came with a couple of really important disclaimers, because it's very difficult to value a token, even when it's live and being traded on the free market. But in our case, our token isn't live and it isn't being traded on the free market. And we'll only get to that point later this year. So valuing it is something that you do with extreme caution and with complete ownership of the value that you do ascribe to it, because it is ultimately a subjective measure at this point. But like we said in that thread, there are people who've done that analysis for themselves and arrived at a valuation of their own, which they've been willing to actually put money behind, putting their money where their mouth is, so to speak. And like we said in that thread, the indicative value of tokens that were bought during the most recent round of our funding, which closed in July, and we spoke about it at the previous block party, was $50 cents per street token. So you can do the math from there and kind of understand what that token hunt implies for a Wolfie. You can compare it to the value of a mint priced Wolfie, and you'll see that one of those numbers is greater than the other. And so that little piece alone, I think, should pretty substantially justify, if people have, as I said, any interest in the future of SolStreet, should justify by itself a Wolfie being a worthwhile piece of property. But of course, that's not all. Much more significantly, even if it's a little bit more abstract, Wolfies are the only way to unlock the performance mining rewards program for SolStreet. And this, although it's a little bit more technical, is equally relevant to that whole spectrum of people, from completely non-technical to complete financial quant whizzes, because the performance mining program exists to help us grow as a protocol by giving rewards out to people who are making the protocol a worthwhile place to be. So that's a bit of a mouthful, but if you're a pool manager or if you're an investor operating on the SolStreet protocol and the funds in which you're involved are performing and earning yield as they exist to do, then SolStreet is making 50 million of its tokens available over the first several years of its existence to reward those people and thank them and for being here early. And so those tokens are going to be far more substantial to the right users than the 360 Street token reward available to the hunt. Again, if you especially if you have any future intentions of running a protocol fund or pool rather, then doing the maths on that is also gonna give you some pretty tasty results. Beyond that, of course, we've got an NFT fund tool in closed beta, and Wolfie holders will be the first people with access to features like that and future features which SolStreet brings out. That includes early testing of new protocol integrations. It includes having a say in the listing of new asset markets. And those are, to name a few, in among the rest of the community benefits, which is going to be essentially just we want to make the Wolfpack section of the Discord a place that really embodies everything which Heinz said, and which is a place that's truly worth spending time, and a place full of people truly worth spending time with. That's the mouthful on Wolfie utility and kind of why it matters. And so a next question you might ask yourself is, okay, and we have been asked this question, how many Wolfies should I own as a potential pool manager? And that, as always, is up to you. DYOR, NFA, all of the disclaimers that have always applied. But one consideration you should take into account is that a single Wolfie will entitle you to participate in the performance mining program for a single pool. So if you're managing multiple pools, or you're going to be investing in multiple pools, then having multiple Wolfies gives you access to the performance rewards that will accrue to each of those multiple pools. So kind of answering this question is something to do with answering for yourself, how many different options do I want to have open for myself? And of course, all of this utility, even if after all that, you're saying to yourself, that doesn't really sound like it's going to be for me, right? Even if you're saying, I don't really get it, I don't really think I'm going to be part of SolStreet's future. Well, I hate to say it, but if you are compelled that to someone all of this means something, and that to someone all of this utility is going to be valuable, then, placing a cautious speculative bet on Wolfies and how others might value them in the future is certainly not illegal or preventable in any measure. So be my guest. Wolfies is really beautifully timed, and this is not by design of ours, but just good fortune, in that they're being launched into this utility meta. People in NFTs are always talking about different metas, and there's PFP meta, and there's the one-of-one art meta, and there's the brand meta that OK Bears kind of brought to the fore. And there's been this utility meta that's always existed in the background, which is to say that utility NFTs which are useful to people, which are valuable to people beyond abstract value, are kind of surging into relevance. And so we're kind of happening to catch that wave, despite the fact that the NFT market, day-to-day liquidity is not nearly what it was several months ago. The narrative and the appetite is there for utility. And so we we fortunate to be kind of launching into that, and know that when you go out into the world and you represent SolStreet and you represent Wolfies in the ways that Hein was alluding to, you're doing so with kind of the wind in your sails, because people are actively looking for this sort of NFT. They're actively hungry for this sort of investment opportunity. And so you'll be received with open arms in that respect. Some of the need to know details, if you somehow haven't seen this anywhere yet, the Wolfie supply is 5555. The cost to mint a Wolfie will be 2.7 Sol, unless you're on the OG whitelist, in which case you're minting at a 40% discount. And whitelist details are available in our How to Whitelist channel on the server. Those will be subject to change, and will be the bar will be raised on how easy it is to get onto the whitelist incrementally as we approach mint. And once you are allocated a whitelist role within our Discord server, you can essentially rest easy knowing that your spot in the whitelist is secured already. But then at some point, any point before mint, you can go over to the Magic Eden link in our official links channel, and you can set yourself up so that you're ready for mint by verifying your wallet and your Discord roles. One footnote on the thought that Hein touched on about going out into the world and demonstrating your belonging to the pack, and demonstrating the value of Wolfies to the wider world. If you've not noticed, a lot of the team has this little identifier within our names, which is a // and then a 4 TP. Of course, the // is the scratch mark from the wolf, which is in and of itself a nice little identifier. You can use that alone, but you can also go ahead and add 4 TP onto the back of your Twitter name, your Discord name, wherever you're open to doing so, as an extra little bit of community identification, especially in this pre-Wolfie profile picture era, which we, of course, will be coming out of within a week's time. And then woof everywhere you go. Woof in our Discord server, woof on Twitter. Let's woof the hell out of this place over the next week. And tomorrow's a full moon, so keep your eyes peeled for a little bit of extra special woof activity that may or may not go on in accordance with that beautiful full moon. And you know, beyond all of this, just acting with the values that Hein has spoken to, really at the core of what you do, being welcoming and thoughtful and analytical, and being kind is just as important as being loud and being hyped. So do that. Join us on Twitter Spaces that we're going to be on over the next week. Join us on Spaces that we're going to host over the next week. Join us in retweeting and liking posts about the art, about the utility, whitelist giveaways, partnerships with a bunch of prominent DAOs and other protocols, which have been unfolding and will continue to do so. There's so freaking much happening and that I'm excited about over the next week. And of course, we are about 1 week and 2 hours away from mint being live. In 1 week, 1 hour and 51 minutes, OGs will start minting. So it's getting close, people. It's getting blimmin' close. So let's turn up the heat. Let's do some woofing, and let's shut Jeff up and meet our long-awaited guest, Ash, who is our Wolfies artist, and she has been around with the SolStreet team for essentially as long as anyone. She's been the person who's brought the Wolfies concept to life, which started as a little sketch on a pad in an office in Cape Town, and she's kind of really just breathed creative life into it. She's thought up and hand drawn most of the traits that you see within the collection, and she really is a completely indispensable part of this whole Wolfies project. We'll just ask her to introduce herself, tell us a bit about who she is and what she does inside and outside of the Wolfies world, how she got involved with us, and some of the kind of specifics around how she's actually made Wolfies, because I know there's a bunch of people interested in that. And then we'll we'll see where that takes us. So
Hello.
there she is. Welcome, Ash.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Ashley Nzambi, and as Jeff introduced me so wonderfully, I'm the designer of the Wolfies. I'm from Gabon. I've been in Cape Town, living in Cape Town for like 6 years now, and I originally have a cool background of like graphic design and motion graphics, animations. But I've always loved drawing, especially portraits, comic books, since I was very young. I think I've done like 4 comic books, my whole life, and I just enjoy creating characters and kind of taking what is, life, everything that is in your common life things, and buildings, clothings, fashions, everything, and kind of translate it into some imaginary personage and stuff. So yeah, I got involved in the project last year or a year and a half ago now, and I've been working in a crypto company. I've formerly associated with SolStreet at the time, and I was a digital designer there and media manager. And I got the Wolfie as like a baby to visually and conceptually evolve.
Give people 30 seconds worth of color on Gabon. I'm sure 90% of people in the chat don't know where Gabon is if they had to point it out on a map. Maybe wouldn't even get the continent right.
Well, yeah. So Gabon is in Central Africa. It's a French-speaking country. It's a very small country. There's not that many people there. It's more like an island. We're surrounded by water. So your scenery would be like, the sea, the beach, mangroves, trees everywhere. That's pretty much the scenery there. I come from a small city. Again, it's called Menji Island. So it's basically an island surrounded by water, and you have the other cities around. I grew up there. I came here when I was 17 after I got my matric. So yeah, I haven't gone there yet ever since. I'm actually planning on maybe going there in December. But yeah, so that's where I'm from. And,
that's awesome.
And yeah, I would say that like on the creative side, it was quite stimulating, because it was more of an adventure every day, going around with friends and just like exploring the island sometimes. But yeah, that was pretty much that. Yeah, I can explain also how I make the Wolfies, perhaps. I'm pretty sure people are interested.
Yeah, I was about to ask you. Well, before you do jump into that, we have a question from chat, from the most rowdy member of chat, Alexis. He says, when Wolfie's comic?
Oh, wow. Honestly, I'm really looking into it. Actually, as Jeff, I'm busy with the utility banners, and it will be in a comic style. So I guess you will have a little bit of a taste of what a Wolfie comic could look like.
Oh, beautiful. And so, just to give people some extra context there, when Ash says utility banners, essentially she's creating an individual work of art that tries to encapsulate each of the 4 kind of core pillars of Wolfie utility, and then we'll use that as the visual identifier that we throw out into the world. And this will all happen within the next week, to talk about each part of utility by itself, because I think something we have to realize as a community is that Wolfies are compelling to people almost without fail. But it is quite difficult to communicate to them clearly why, to kind of break through that little barrier of understanding for what the utility represents them. It's a more difficult thing to explain than like, I don't know, Rakudos that minted 10 days ago or so, and they just said, we're the Amazon Web Services of Web3. We don't quite have a good example to anchor onto like that. So anyways, these utility banners are going to be a really fun way of helping kind of bring each of our utility pieces to life. But coming back to you, Ash, like what do you use to actually make the Wolfies, and what's the process that you followed to actually bring them to life?
So when the project started, when I was handed the project, it was an Illustrator file. So from the Adobe pack, so you have Illustrator, which is a software for mostly illustrations, that pairs sometimes, with After Effects very well for animations. So yeah, I was handed that file, and the Wolfie was, basic with like a body and basic clothing and a color background. So then from that, I was assigned and asked to just kind of build, just give the Wolfie a little bit of life and character and bring some new features and traits to it. So from there, I started doing some research. That's actually always my process. I make some research regarding a certain, a particular subject. So, for example, when there was the competitions for Wolfies, I think last year there was, I think 4 concepts. There was the Wolf of Wall Street. There was some other ones. So I first researched that specific subject or concept. And then from there, I create, I create the layers. So let's say I take for reference the costume of Leonardo DiCaprio in the movie, and then I adapt it to now the shape of the Wolfie. So that's always what happens. I would take things from pop culture and just trendy visuals that I would now just translate for it to fit on the Wolfie. And yeah, so each time I would incorporate these traits and then create featured layers each time, and then that's really how I've been building it. And then now we've got so many traits, and when they merge together, also it just creates such a variety of different looking Wolfies, super epic ones, and some a little bit more common. But that's really the beauty of it. And actually, that leads me to talk a bit about the code. So for like the past year, the way for me to create like mass Wolfies, because otherwise I would have to export each Wolfie each time from the software. But we found a code that we could that we could use that would basically just pick, each layer. So there's the body layer, the shirt layer, let's say, the hair layer. So that code will basically just run through each layer in a specific order, and then basically just bake a Wolfie and select the traits, on a random. Sometimes we would actually like kind of assign a certain probability to certain traits, so that some would appear more often than others, and some would only appear like once in a while. So that makes, your very epic Wolfie, which is really like exciting when it happens. That's really like the process to make Wolfies happen, of designing it and producing them.
That's really cool. I feel like it's been a great privilege to have a very close view into this whole process and to watch you work and like help brainstorm with you and figure out the layering. I can't tell you, it's a deceptively difficult thing to do to figure out how like 14 different visual layers should fit together when each of those visual layers has something like 20 or 30 different attributes that could appear in the layer, and they cover different areas of space and need to look like they're at different kind of depths, either shallow or further back in the photo. And it's super tricky to get it right, but I think where we've ended up is awesome. And actually, just before this, earlier this afternoon, I was starting my manual review of every single Wolfie that we've produced. So most of the Wolfies that'll end up in the final collection have actually now been generated and are sitting here on my local machine. And I'm just doing a final comb through to catch out any that may have little malfunctions or even that just, are super chaotic, or I don't know what. I'm just kind of exercising my discretion on those, but boy, do they look incredible. There are some absolutely sexy Wolfies, and as I've been going through, I've been like going and checking my Sol wallet balances, starting to figure out how I'm going to move enough Sol around to do my own minting on the day. I hope that we don't mint out during the whitelist phase, just so that the public unlimited phase can be reached and I can mint to my heart's desire. So thank you so much, Ash. It's been certainly awesome to chat to you, but it's not the first time for me, but for a lot of these folks here, it is the first time. So
the pleasure was mine, really.
Thanks for coming through and sharing a bit about yourself with everyone. And guys, keep an eye on Ash. She works with an incredible design team now, and she does some of her own artistic work, and you can find her on Twitter. We've recently mentioned her in a tweet. So if you want to keep up with her journey as an illustrator and animator, then please go and do so. Cool. Thanks, Ash. I'm going to move it on to Alexis. Among all of this Wolfie mania, we still have a freaking badass DeFi protocol being built, and there's been some good progress on it in the last month. So, Alexis, would you care to take it from here?
Sure. Thanks so much, Hein and Jeff and Ash for sharing that all. Ash, it was cool to hear your story. Gabon sounds like a pretty place, and I'm going to be eagerly waiting a comic. Whether you do it, I don't know, in your own time or just some teasers or something. I'm keen to see something. But let me just open by pointing out a couple of things. This platform and forum is something that I've been super excited about and bullish on from day one, with sort of building a decentralized asset management protocol, and with the intention to decentralize and open source the whole thing. A way to engage with the community, share with the community, give everybody an insight into what we're doing, was getting these block parties set up. And as Jeff mentioned, these have been going for 6 months now, one every month, and we've done pretty well by sticking to it. And I actually need to scroll on my Discord to see every person that's part of this call now. And I don't know who was there on the first one, but I think it might have been no one or one person. I don't know if anybody can remember who was there. And it's really, I remember we were just talking to ourselves, and we're like, well, we'll record them and we'll put them online so somebody might listen to it and hear what we've been doing. But it's great to see the community going from strength to strength. And the way I see it is Wolfies is that first real step and inflection point to mobilizing a community around the protocol and product, to then take this product to being completely decentralized and open source, which is what we've always been building and aiming towards from day one, and that really excites me. So there's been a few sort of big things that we've been working on the product side. I won't lie, Jeff and the Wolfies have eaten into the product resources, and the guys have been excited to be working on the NFTs as well. But we've managed to keep chugging along on the product side. I know I've had a lot of backwards and forwards with Rigger and a few other guys on the support and feedback side, which thank you so much. We wouldn't be here without that feedback and input and testing and feature requests. And that's what it's really about, is designing and building something that you guys find useful, and not and breaking stuff, as Don says there. I wouldn't kid myself, and I don't think anybody on our team kids ourselves, that we know exactly what needs to be built. But if we build something together as a community, I believe it will have at least the community who finds it useful. And if the community finds it useful, there's probably a whole bunch more people out there that will find it useful. So a couple of the big features that we've been working on over and above just running through some of those changes and bugs that have been uncovered over the last we've been working on whitelisted pools, which is essentially like a KYC type feature. The way it's set up is that any fund will then eventually be able to set up a whitelisting feature, which would lock their fund to a set list of addresses. And the thinking behind this feature is that some people might be required to run a regulated fund and required to KYC their users. So this gives them a tool to lock down their fund to only a whitelisted set of users. So they could integrate the SDK with a third-party KYC provider and do like an automated process, or they could be running internal KYCs and adding people to that list manually. Or other use cases for this feature, which I'd like to see where it goes, would be like maybe managing treasuries using a non-custodial asset management protocol like ourselves, or sort of like private investment groups where you're a handful of people who are interested in working with funds together and assigning that final say to one decision maker, but would like to allocate their funds in a non-custodial manner because they would like that extra level of trust. So yeah, this is something that's very close to going out, and has taken a fair deal of work to get that done. And another big feature that we've been working on, and I'd like to shine a little bit of light on it, and this is advanced orders, like limit orders. And I know there's been discussions in the community before, and people have kind of pointed to this and said, when advanced orders, and it's simple to create advanced orders and add advanced orders. Like it's really a trivial addition to the protocol, but to make it a fair addition to the protocol that's both fair for fund managers and fair for investors is a really non-trivial task to solve. So the way other people have implemented this feature is once you've opened a limit order, suddenly your funds are locked, and investors can't then withdraw from that fund. So essentially, you've got a non-custodial fund which has no withdrawal mandate because your funds can't be withdrawn from there. So there's a bunch of things that could potentially go wrong there. And what we've been working on is a way that enables you to both add limit orders, but at the same time, it allows investors to invest and redeem while limit orders are open, and it doesn't lock up their fund. That's also in the final stage of development, and it's a very cool solution. I think it's up there with our little our crank system that we got going. So it also solves a bunch of problems. And will add a ton of value to both investors and fund managers. And then assets, we've been increasing our asset pool. So there's going to be another 4 assets coming out soon. And what we're currently doing is we're going to this is going to form part of this sort of expansion towards open sourcing and decentralizing. Is we're going to start scaling these up on a regular basis. And Don asked when soon. Very, very soon. There are a few difficult problems that we're going to solve there. So we're splitting it into whichever ones are easy, which would be any assets that have an intersect between Orca, Serum, and Pith, which mean you got a price feed. Those assets are easy for us to add, and we'll be adding those thick and fast as we go forwards. But then the much more difficult ones involve a bunch more infrastructure changes to include assets that don't have price feeds or don't have an intersect between those platforms. And then something that we've also then been working on in the background and looking at how we do it is using an aggregator for our swaps rather than directly through a pool. And this you can see in bear market territory how thin the liquidity gets, and an aggregator solves some of that problem. So we've been actively exploring that as an option. And then over and above that, there's a bunch of small tweaks here and there, and changes and things that came from conversations with Rigga and Don, and a few other guys in the community that we're busy working on in parallel with that. But all in all, there's some big new things coming out. And hopefully once we get these things wrapped up, then the next steps are going to be to moving into audits, and then from audits into, hopefully we can start scaling our integrations out vertically. But yeah, that's a big task, and we've got enough on our plate just around the core protocol at the moment. That's about it from the product side. We're super excited to see the community growing, and we'd really like for everybody to contribute from wherever they can, whether it's using the protocol and testing, giving feedback like Rigger and Don and the testers and other guys in the community have done, or whether it is just getting the word out there and sharing a little bit about the fact about what we're building and what we're trying to achieve with Wolfies and the protocol. Our mission is to make this open source, decentralized and non-custodial, and have a community take us forwards to who knows where it goes. That's everything from my side. Back over to you, Jeff.
Thank you kindly, good sir. That was a string of bomb drops that will be difficult to recover from. Yeah, like guys, it's easy to kind of listen to these words and let it feel like, oh, these kind of progressive little tech updates are being made. But so much of what Alex being, our lead dev, if you guys haven't met him, but Alex and Alexis, so much of what they're working on is kind of literally bleeding edge development problems. And I had a bit of a lengthy exchange of messages with Tom in the Tune on our general channel yesterday about kind of the broader direction of the protocol and growing our user base. And something to underline and something that's worthwhile understanding is that non-custodial asset management, our model, we're not the first people to try and build a protocol like this. In fact, we're not the first people to succeed at building a protocol like this. There are others on Solana, there are others on Ethereum, but it's not worked so far. And you have to wonder, why hasn't it worked? It seems like it really, really should have. Asset management very clearly has a place in TradFi, and it should very clearly have a place in crypto, because people know even less about what they're doing in crypto. So there's even more of a reason to delegate your trading decision making to someone with a good track record for doing so. So why hasn't it worked and caught on in this new asset class? And a fundamental part of the answer is that the limitations that are inherent to building on-chain funds it's difficult to build asset baskets with more than a fixed number of assets, and I believe, stand to be corrected, but that on Solana has been 6, which is something to do with the way the Solana blockchain works. And so, like Don has said, now famously, it's impossible to run an index fund with 6 spot assets on it. 6 assets that anyone could go and buy and sell for themselves, because that's not really a very valuable proposition. But once you have multiple protocol integrations, like we now do, and will continue to add to, you've got Mango, you've got Serum, which means you've got spot markets, you've got perp markets, you can short, you can leverage your trades. Once you've got that, the strategic possibilities really begin to open up in a kind of compounding way as far as what the pool managers can achieve. And also, now that we've broken through the barrier that we have on asset basket size, which is the biggest thing that Alexis was talking about there, now you can apply these creative strategies to a broader slice of the asset universe, and a slice that will continue to grow, hopefully in an accelerating fashion. And so all of a sudden you've really unthrottled and kind of unchained the possibilities of on-chain non-custodial funds. So for me, that's where the use case of this whole thing comes to life. These stepping stones are seriously game-changing, and so that's why this is kind of the perfect time to be taking SolStreet to the world, to be making a bunch of noise with Wolfies, and then to be generating our token later on in the year and kind of removing our fund cap size and just freaking going to the moon. NFA. Cool. We've got one more team member to speak today. By the way, the reason in the first place that I'm the one doing the kind of hosting / emceeing today rather than our faithful Nab is that Nab's got bronchitis. I don't know if you caught it earlier, but he said he's been woofing too much IRL, and it's finally caught up to him. Last but not least, we have the ever lovable speedster.sol, aka Patrick, to tell us about content and some of the places you can keep up and look out for new things.
Jeff, thank you for that. For starters, F in chat for you, Nab. Sad to hear that you're a little bit sicky today. But again, Jeff, yeah, spot on earlier. Bombs have been dropped, and I'm in a tough spot now at the end of the call because the acts that I have to follow on, it's a lot. But here's my usual update. Everybody, it's Pat, Protocol Content Specialist, behind your weekly and monthly reads. I'm having a quick look at who's in attendance, and it is awesome to see so many OGs, sort of the frequent chatters, and the gamers in here. I see some gamers. But cool. So as you've heard from the rest of the team, and you've hopefully seen just with the uptick in Discord and Twitter chat, July has been uber busy for us, and it's been packed with exciting news about the projects, which, as you've now heard, are fully underway. As your content specialist, my role is to ensure that our various reads and resources serve as quick stops for those of you looking for a monthly recap, interesting news and articles and reads, and the quick week ending protocol-related changes and featured updates. Here's a quick little reminder for all of you on how you'll be able to find yourself in the know. The weekly mailer drops every Friday, same time, 4:30 UTC. In it, Nab and I fill you in with all of the significant changes our team has worked on and implemented, as well as the protocol issues that we've remedied. We dive a little bit deeper into those and unpack the changes, as well as our other exciting updates, somewhat more comprehensively in our monthly roundups. We drop these on the first Friday of the new month, and they're a fantastic primer for the community calls. And as you would have seen in the last one, it's a great place to find more info on our Wolfies, our wrapped up funding rounds, and the refresh light paper. As we all know, it can be difficult to work through all of the constant updates and changes taking place in crypto. So I've got you covered with a selection of interesting reads, fresh stories, changes from around the ecosystem. It's looking a little bit more trim and tidy these days, and it serves as a great summary of, just new new projects and protocols, recently concluded funding rounds, various bits of DeFi news, a couple of memes in there. The SolStreet Journal really is something for everyone. So please check the SSJ out every Thursday at 5:30 UTC. We've also got a dedicated SSJ channel where you can share your thoughts, questions, hot takes on what's been happening all around us. I'll also wrap up these past editions as PDFs come the end of the month. So if you're not yet a follower of the mailer, please take a look and consider subscribing. Again, it's become a bit more trim and tidier read, and it's a great summary, I think at least, of what's been going on around us. As for essential Wolfies updates, we have a new mailer dedicated to that, courtesy of myself, Jeff, and Grant. Please, keep an eye out there on our Discord announcement channels and our Twitter account for any sort of, all of these exciting updates to the collection. From my side, it's SolStreeters, please continue to share memes. Please follow our awesome Medium blog and our recently released blog page on our website. Please, don't force me to constantly have to salute y'all and drop the Fs in the chat. Like I was going to say, thanks again to all of our subscribers. I really do recognize and appreciate you, and I hope that you'll enjoy today's SSJ and tomorrow's weekly recap. Jeff, I'm going to pass it on back to you for those final words.
Thanks, Pat. You ought to catch up on the last 5 minutes of chat activity. You're being swooned over with that smooth, silky voice of yours and those articulate rolling words. Thank you, Pat. I feel so lucky that one of the newsletters that I genuinely am interested in reading on a weekly basis, and there aren't that many of them, comes from someone on my own team. It's legitimately a good place to keep up with Solana and DeFi and NFTs as well. That being the SolStreet Journal, of course. So give us a sub there as Pat continues to venture deeper and deeper into the Web3 world.
Sorry, Jeff. Can I quickly hop in there about my voice for radio? Oh, no, I like that one. Sorry, I'm catching up on these now. You know what? And Don, I really am. I feel seen there with my timepieces. Thank you for that. you know what? I get a lot of questions, of course, on whether or not this is like an accent or if I was always raised in South Africa. For those of you who are interested, I've always been here in South Africa, always been in Pretoria, and that's it. There's nothing really fancy going on here. I mean, I just thought that I would clarify that because that is something I get quite often. I also get the you look like Hugh Grant, you know, you a Hugh Grant lookalike. Those are the two things, lads. Now what I'm busy catching up here in the comments. Thank you for that there, Nab. Face for Vogue, voice for radio.
Good. Well, we'll believe it when we can see some on-chain proof that you've only ever lived in Pretoria. But guys, that brings us towards the conclusion of today's block party. It's been a lot of fun today. I've really enjoyed it, and I've appreciated the turnout. It's good to see, as Pat was saying, so many familiar faces and also several new ones. So welcome again to those of you who are new. We sincerely look forward to seeing more of you around the server, and at the very least, give us a woof in the woof channel whenever you think to do so, and give us a GM and a GN when you're logging on off. I saw a tweet earlier this week which said my toxic trait is saying GN and then not going to bed. So don't let that be you. Say GN once it's Betty bye, good night time. And guys, thanks for coming. That is all for today's block party. We'll catch you in the server, we'll catch you on Twitter. And if there was ever a time to be attentive to those two places, that time is now. And we're going to be giving you guys a little bit of extra kind of direction and guidance as to how to best put your voices to work, other than just howling at the moon in your backyard like Nab's done to lose his voice. Appreciate it, guys. Woof.